Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a reel that Bobby has sent in. And Bobby, well, he's in Tennessee and he has a large collection of reels. And some of them, well, they need repairs and services, and this is one of the ones he has asked me to work on. This one is an Ocean City 1999. It says made in Philadelphia. This reel only had about a 2 or 3 year span. I believe it was introduced in 1949. And it ran 49 and 50. It could have been 48. I'm not quite sure. It originally retailed for $9.95, which is not inexpensive back in the day. Well, Bobby sent it to me. We've got a handle here that's, well, it's broken. It can still be used, but it's broken. Seems to turn okay. The line guide is not in the track of the reel. And I thought what we would do today is we would take this reel apart, we'll service it for Bobby, we'll get that line guide back in track. He did send a replacement handle. We'll see if that works. And if not, we'll make sure that it's ready to go with the exception of a replacement handle. These handles are old, as I mentioned. It was probably 1949 or 50 when this reel was sold. So we're looking at 70 years old, and well, that can get brittle during that period of time. All right, well, let's take this reel apart. We'll show you how it's serviced. And now that we know a little bit of the history, we'll start by taking off the exterior pieces and parts. As I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel service and repair. And, well, I try to do my best to transfer my skills so that you can learn how to do it yourself. This one, interestingly enough, looks like it has the opening for a pen handle. So maybe, even though the one that he sent doesn't look like it'll fit, maybe a pen handle will. We'll have to see. Penn and Ocean City were competitors. They were not the same company, so it's unlikely that they worked on any collaborative design here, but it may be that that works. And we'll give it a check. To remove the exterior pieces and parts, there's a couple of case screws. We'll start by taking those off. I'm not sure if the 2 inner screws need to be taken off at this point. We'll find out. Sometimes the 3 on the outside is the mount, and the 2 on the inside is the bridge, and the bridge stays attached to the side plate. And sometimes, well, the actual bridge is inside the reel, and those internal screws have to hold it to the frame. We'll see. I take my screws off, and the first thing I want to do is make sure that they're all the same size. When I'm done taking those screws out, I put them into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a fast food container, but those parts trays become invaluable to me in keeping track of the pieces and parts. This is a nice German silvered reel, and for the most part it stays free of corrosion. There is some piece here, I think that's probably aluminum, and it does show a little bit of pitting. We've taken the 3 screws out. Let's see if we can remove the side plate now. I think we have to remove this little tensioner here. Seems to be what's holding this back. Doesn't seem like it's those internal screws. Let's take the tensioner off. See if it comes out now. It does. And this is what I was thinking. We have a bridge underneath here that's being held on by those 2 screws. This reel is, well, it's dirty, but other than that, it doesn't appear to have any broken pieces and parts. When you do a servicing, you want to do a couple of things. One of those is to take the reel apart and clean it. Another thing to do is to take the time to inspect all the pieces and parts and make sure that they're in good condition. Okay, let's spend a moment here and clean this up. I'm just going to use a penetrating oil here to flush some of the old greases. Then I'm going to use a cotton swab to kind of mop up the debris. There's dirt in here. I don't think it's sand, but there is dirt in here. And we'll see what we can do there. I'm going to use a paper towel to go inside. Here's a piece of line that was broken off in there. That's kind of always interesting to find that stuff. Maybe that's even what dislodged the line guide from its track. You want to get rid of the dirt and debris. You don't want to spend your time servicing a reel only to find out that you've left pieces that are floating inside the reel and could damage it. This piece looks like it's some kind of a pull-down clip here. I'm not quite sure. There you go. See what we can do. This might just come out by itself. Sometimes that drive on the worm gear is squared, and you can remove it. Sometimes you can't. I'm going to take it from this side. Then you have to remove that worm gear. Well, you have to get play in that worm gear so that you can put it back in the tray. And that was just enough right there to do that. We have that back in its course again. There you go. So sometimes it's as simple as that. While we have that little cap off, put a little bit of grease in it. It is the terminus for the one side of the worm gear. So we'll take that, put that in there, grease that up. We can put that back together. So the line guide reels have been around a long time. I mean, we're talking about this reel in the 1940s. These types of bait casting reels go all the way back to William Shakespeare in the early 1900s came up with the line guide reel. So it's not a new innovation at all. Of course, it's been changed up over time, but the basic principle, the worm gear with the pawl steadying the reel, is well, it's the same today as it was 120 years ago. All right, well, this has gotten nice and cleaned. A little bit on Ocean City. Ocean City was founded in the 1920s, I think 1922, by a sporting goods company of all things. I think the fellow who founded it was named Moskowitz, and they needed some fishing reels for their general purpose store, and they decided that they would go ahead and go make some. They were in Philadelphia, and eventually they partnered with an awful lot of successful reel makers and the like. Vom Hoff was one of them that they partnered with, and well, eventually Montague from a fishing rod standpoint, and well, they just made a very nice quality product, and if anything, the products were expensive. And one of the fellows who worked for Ocean City was Otto Heinz, and he left Ocean City in Philadelphia to form the Penn fishing tackle manufacturing company and build Penn reels. And his motivation was that he thought that he could make a better reel cheaper and get it to the point where it was available to the average fishing person, as opposed to, well, the more elites that had the money. Again, I mentioned this reel from Ocean City in 1949 cost $9.95. That was not inexpensive at all. Okay, it's interesting that the badge on this reel floats, and that it's actually held in place by the two pieces, the screw and the storage, the adjuster for the spool. All right, you can see how nicely that German silvering is cleaning up here. I'm just using some rod and reel cleaner and a kitchen scrubby. That's really all you need to do on these reels. You can buff that and polish it very nicely. And of course, the case shows some wear. You would expect that. It's been fished, but it's not in terrible condition at all. Okay, we want to remove the main assembly. I want to make sure that our sub-assembly here is clean. And do the same thing here. There's just a little bit of dried grease. I want to make sure that that gets cleaned up. Again, paper towels, whatever the least abrasive is that you can use, go ahead and do just that. Next up, we have the main gear. When you take the main gear out, notice one side is flat and one side has got a cup in it. The cup faces down. And then this is your pinion gear assembly. You want to check the teeth on this, make sure that they're not damaged or in any way bent, chipped, cracked, etc. because that will affect the performance. There's a little shaft that rides on. We're going to go ahead and put some fishing reel grease on that. I use Penn Precision reel grease. We can load the two up. Now we want to do the same thing here. This is very clean. It's all kind of evaporated. But what we'll do with that is the same thing, a little bit of grease. You don't have to get the grease on every tooth. When you run this reel, the one gear is smaller than the other, so it will distribute the grease over time. Cup side goes down. And then there's a little washer that sits on top of that in case you missed that. There's a washer there. That's your main gear assembly. As soon as I seat that washer. And now we can just put that back into the side plate. So the materials are high-class materials, or high-quality materials here. The design, relatively simple, standard kind of stuff. But because it's a relatively easy or simple reel, well, among other things, they just don't break. I mean, we saw that the line guide came out of its track, and if there is a weak spot on this reel, it would be the line guide and the line guide pawl. So we'll check that after we get done with this. Well, those of you that know me know I tend to struggle a little bit with screws, so I'm going to go ahead and use that screw starter here. And go ahead and put that back. And when I use the screw starter, it's a split blade, and when you put some pressure on it, it does come back and spread and then hold in the slot of the screw. This one I think is made by Klein's Tools. It was actually a gift from Dick out in Philadelphia, who saw that I struggle with this stuff and was awfully kind in sending it over, telling me that that was a solution to my issues. All right, I want to put a little bit of grease onto the mooring gear as well. Normally I don't do that if I have plastic idler gears, but these are metal, so we're going to go ahead and put that on. Next up then, we want to insert the case back in and on. When you do this, you're going to want to make sure that you mesh the main gear with that mooring gear. We're not meshed here. There we go. Now we are. And then we can take those 3 screws. Let's see if I have any better luck with these. These are small screws. You need a micro driver to do that. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck. Maybe you just want to know a little bit more of the history of the reel. Maybe you just have a comment, general comment. Just leave it in the comment section. You can use this video. It doesn't matter if it's this reel or not that you're asking about. And I generally try to get back and answer those questions in the morning. Okay, it's the second one. One more. As soon as I tighten this down. And the one that goes up top here. So it's not that much to service a reel like this, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be servicing them. You certainly should be, and frequently I get asked what's the right time interval to service a reel, and I always suggest try to service them at least once a year. If they're heavily used, it doesn't hurt to do a service mid-year. It only takes the average reel about 20 to 25 minutes to do, maybe, so it's well worth spending that time rather than have the reel fail while you're fishing and well, just wind up in a position where you lose a fish because of it. Okay, well, I'm going to set this down for a moment. I'm going to see if I can find a different handle that may work. Okay, I thought that the Penn handle that would look like that, the one that goes on the 109, would fit, but it doesn't. So we're going to have to search for a different handle. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and put the handle back on. And we'll give this a final test. and then we'll know a little bit more to do. This cap nut has a hole in the center of it, and that's so that you can use a oiler for a squirt of oil right here. Use an oiler that has a little spout that goes with it, like this one. And you can oil it. Of course, we put some grease in there when we took the reel apart, so you don't need to oil that. All right, we'll give it a test, see how we did, and then we'll see what we can do about that handle. So again, a 1999 Ocean City reel, 1949, 1950 in the catalog for sure, $9.95. Let's give it a run. Look at how smooth that runs. Wow, this thing can go fishing for a long time to come. Beautiful example of nice, solid engineering that just, well, just lasts and lasts and lasts. Oh, it's a shame that the handle knobs did not last. These do appear to be screws. They do appear to be tapped in. There might be a way to find a replacement knob for that. Actually, I may even go see if a Mitchell knob might fit that. We'll have to see a little bit of bush fixing, if you will. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's a great little reel. If you have the opportunity to find one and work on one, now you know how to do it. And I wish you the joy and the rewards that come with servicing your own tackle and fishing equipment. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. I do appreciate everything you do. To everyone, this is a fun little reel project. Let me know the types of reels you're working on. Send pictures. Use my email. To everyone, have a safe and happy day. Enjoy fishing and get out on the water. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.